What's going on, guys? Gainz Gaming here, and today we are talking about new crystal technology. Now, this is kind of insane to me. In my last KVK in 1846, I mentioned how free-to-play players were basically fighting at the same level in Kingsland as max tech players. Now, that's not entirely true, but a lot of free-to-play players, or low spenders, I should say, had very similar tech to maxed out players. What they didn't have was 7 marches, or the ability to swarm everything, or the ability to get auto helps. Like, those things were extra that maybe max tech players had, or maxed out special concoctions. But for the most part, these free-to-play players had essentially maxed out damage, maxed out health, maxed out defense, maxed out march speed, and they were able to essentially fight at like 90 to 95% of the fighting ability as pay to win players. And that was pretty insane. I talked about how good that is for the game, how that changes how every single kingdom is going to be fighting in KVK, and how numbers are really everything. And what did Lilith do? They introduced more all damage. So what does that do? Now, I saw Chiscool make a video where he said RIP free to play. I agree. And I think this is way too high. In Chiscool's video, he mentioned like at the most a 5 and 5 should have been done here. Like 5% infantry damage reduction, 5% damage bonus to infantry. I think that's great. I think that would be a good mix where people that are spending more money have a little bit more damage. But it's not to the point where like it's the pop meta again, where you get targeted, you die in 2 seconds. I don't like that. I don't think anybody likes that. Even whales don't like that. And so I think overall, this is a mistake. And I think, at least I hope, that it gets addressed very quickly. I don't know if these are going to be, active. I guess they are going to be active because it's a pioneer event. So they're going to be testing this new technology out. But, I mean, they also changed rapid retreat. I don't know if really anybody cares about that, but now it's just automatically returning troops instantly instead of like a faster, I think it was like 200% march speed or something. But you spend gems to like return your troops immediately, which is kind of insane, honestly. There's like in Tides of War, I believe, there's a factor you can turn on where as soon as your troops die, you can send them out immediately again. And that was like super OP for like ruin fights. Because you're able to just get troops in and out over and over and over, not have to worry about them marching back home. But I think the biggest thing is this all damage. I think an extra 20% swing, because again, free-to-play players, yes, they had like the attack, they had the defense, they had the health, they had the march speed, but they didn't necessarily get to this part. They didn't get to the part where they were reducing damage taken unless they did a crap ton barbarian chaining. And yes, some probably did do that. Maybe they had like some infantry, or they had like all these at level 4, and that's great. But now, like if they get that to level 4, that's 2%. Okay, 2% is better than nothing, but compared to 10%, that's substantial. And what I did last KVK was I did quite a bit of chaining. I killed like 24,000 barbarians, so I did a lot of barbarian chaining. But I had pop-ups, I had the crystal mine speed, I had like the $15 bundle, and I also had one Mountain Warfare. So I had a decent amount of technology last KVK, and I had all these maxed out. I didn't have Surprise Strike. Toward the end of fighting, I had 7 marches, but like I had really good technology. I still traded negative in that last crystal tech because, like I said, free-to-play players and low spenders had basically the same technology I did, so minus like 6% reduction of damage, which, yeah, that can be significant, but over the course of an entire KVK, it's not that much when you're factoring in how many more teched up marches you had in the open field that you were fighting against. The numbers of whales did not compute to the overall numbers on the field. Now, I think this kind of reverts that, and I think this puts more power in higher spending kingdoms, less power in free-to-play, low spending, but tons of marches on the field. So is this a good thing? I honestly don't think so, but I also think that the way that the last crystal tech was looking, they were trying to bring back like massive kingdoms. And yes, I think that's a good thing to do, But at the same time, that's not where Rise of the Kingdoms is at. With the Imperium level so low, you're not able to bring in those players unless you're bringing in players between like 50 and 70 million power. Like it's just not going to work because you're going to hit Imperium and you're not going to be able to bring in more players. So I really don't know how they fix this. I think that the easiest way to do it is knock these by 50%. I think they cut these in half. I think 5% infantry damage reduction and 5% damage bonus to infantry. I don't think we need an extra 10% all damage. Like, yeah, for me, I'm going to have it, but I don't think that's going to be good for the game because we're going to be in the pop meta again. And if you don't know what I mean by pop meta, it is where like you start fighting and before you know it, your march is gone. Like you drag your marches and then boom, Zeuge is returning home because you got popped by 3 commanders that did skill damage on you and your march died in less than a second. You're like, what just happened? Now I have to spend 3 days on healing and 40 million resources. Like that's not fun. That's not fun for anybody. And that happens to every single person in a pop meta. It's not only free to play players. It's not for low spenders. It's everybody. Like, yeah, like max tech players are more protected from that, but it still happens. So I'm not really sure if they're going to be making changes to this. Obviously, like they're taking input and they made it a much more free to play friendly version of Crystal Tech, my last KVK. But now this one is getting further and further away from that once again. I understand from a business perspective, you want to satisfy the people that are spending money. And let's be real, free-to-play players are not bringing money to Lilith. So yes, they are a majority of the player base, but they are not bringing money in. And at the end of the day, that is what a business is trying to do, is to grow money, make profits. Because if they're not making profits, the game is going to die. And not just die by like people quitting, I mean die by like they can't keep it going anymore. It costs money to run the servers, it costs money to do everything. So they need to make money. So I totally understand that business aspect. I work in sales. I totally understand that. But you also need to make the game playable for the free-to-play players that the whales are fighting against. Because if it is not playable, if it's just the pop meta again, people are going to quit and there's going to be less people to fight. And that ruins the game because then there's nobody in the field and you have kingdoms dying and you have kingdoms merging. And yes, I know they're trying to bring in kingdom merging. I don't want to make this into like a rant video, but I just think that the way that they're going with this is the exact opposite of the way they should be going. Because again, you're bringing this closer and closer to the pop meta that we had before with 30% all damage. I don't think we should go back to that. Yes, I know 10% isn't 30%, but this is a 20% swing. It's not just 10% all damage. You're also reducing damage taken by 10%. So in total, it's a 20% damage swing. So it's not the same as that 30% all damage. But one thing that you need to think about as well is in the past glory, they reduced the all damage from 40% to 30%, trying to reduce the overall damage in the field. But now those max tech players are still going to have 40% all damage by getting this, and everyone else is going to have 30%. So it's just making a huge, massive swing in the favor of pay to win players, because not only are they getting that 40% all damage total, but they're also reducing the damage taken by 10%. So those free to play players that initially had 40% all damage now essentially only have 20% all damage. It is pretty substantial. So let me know what you guys think down below. I am pretty disappointed with this new change in tech. I hope they make adjustments because they have been doing very good about listening to the audiences and listening to content creators, like passing on the opinions of people in our comment section and our audience. So I think that is a very good thing that they're making these changes and testing them out in these pioneer events. I think that's good, but I think this is just a little bit too much in the swing of the pop meta that we were in before. But let me know what you guys think down below about this new crystal technology. If you think it's good, if you think it should be lowered to that 5% and 5%, or if they should lower just straight back to just pure infantry damage reduction and all the other troop types. But let me know what you guys think down below. I'm curious to see how you guys think about this new crystal technology. Thank you guys for checking out this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.